fishing in the middle of town. What all can we catch today? That is the question. We're at my local greenway in the middle of town, like literally in the middle of town. There's businesses right across the creek. There's restaurants, schools. Well, I don't know about schools. Houses. I mean, we're literally in the middle of town. Not in a semi kind of urban thing. We're full on urban. I was looking at fish. But yeah, this creek and greenway go from one end of the town to the other. So anyway, welcome back to the channel, everybody. We're going to try to catch up some fish on this little greenway and have fun doing it. It's very surprising how big the fish in this creek can get. The biggest that I've ever caught is to this spot that we're walking to now, and it's about 2 pounds. So at least for this creek, that is a big size fish. So anyway, let's get to fishing. It's actually pretty hard to film down here because, you know, not everybody wants to be filmed. So I usually try to keep my camera off or something like that when I'm around others. Yeah, there might be something hiding down in there. Oh, there it is. Got it. Chill, chill, chill. That is our local buddy, the Coosa bass. Very pretty little fish. I didn't even see him sitting in the creek right down there. But there's a ton of little fish in this spot right here. Most of them just little shiners and things like that. Got it. He's wrapped up in some trash down there though. Well, that was 100% expected. He got wrapped up in some trash and didn't want to come out. And just to make it easier on myself, instead of digging through my backpack, I'm just going to keep this little trout magnet kit in my pocket. You know what? What we're going to do, where'd that go? We're going to use one of these little black and chartreuse ones. Got it. Had to take a guess on that one, but another pretty little Coosa bass. Don't really have room to cast, so I had to do a little dock shooting there. Let's get it back. Oh, well, fortunately he landed in a hole in a log and not on the log. But I'd retied the little 64-ounce jig in a little trout magnet crawl. So I'm gonna have to do some shooting to get in there. What do we have? Ah, little micro Coosa bass, little baby one. Starting to stink pretty bad, at least down here. And there's another one. What do we have? That's a little red breast sunfish. Pretty little fish. That one just came up out of nowhere and grabbed it. Kind of disappointed, if I'm being honest, because this bite is much slower than I figured it would be. Because I have fished this creek several times in the past, and it's just one right after another. Fish that got off. Couldn't tell what that one was. It looked kind of like a little coosa bass or another little shiner, and that was definitely a shiner that just bit it. Got him. What do we have here? Chill. That is just a really dark bluegill. I honestly thought it was a green sunny at first. It's kind of hard to tell in a lot of this shade, but the fish are definitely interested. I think what's hurting me in this clear water though is not using the fluorocarbon leader, because I've already broke off once or twice and that chewed up all of my leader. Which I've got the stuff to swap it out with me. It's just doing it. A little red. There's actually a little coosa bass right over there where this thing was that I would prefer catching, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. Alright, we've had a little bit of a change of plans. Went downstream about 1/8 of a mile or so. Caught a couple of fish. A lot of them just weren't emitting. So we're going to go back to where we started at and go upstream a good ways, because I know there's a little waterfall on this creek. Not much of one, but it's one of the deeper parts in this section of the creek. And usually there's some fish hiding in there, so we're going to hit the spots that we've already hit on the way down, on the way back to where we started, and then go up. I don't know how many times, actually I think it's twice, that I have snagged myself in the shirt or something, like in the back. It's been irritating. And there was a fish I want to catch. I should probably pay attention to where I'm walking instead of looking in this creek for fish, but I went ahead and retied a little fluorocarbon leader because this water is super clear. And something was hitting it immediately, and something came off. But generally, the rule of thumb when you're fishing really small creeks like this that are super clear, don't just walk right up to the creek. You know, cast from a distance. But the downside is this right here is a lot of times you don't have that option. And there's a suitcase. Fish. This is a good one too. Well, for the size of the creek, that is. New species for the day. Little Reginald. That right there is one of my favorite like creek bass or species of creek bass that there are. Because depending on where you're fishing at, if they're mixed in with like smallmouth, you won't know whether you've got a smallmouth on or if you have, well, a rock bass. But they're definitely one of my favorite species of bass to fish for. Well, catch, not so much fish for. And another thing with one of these, or these little creeks like this, is it doesn't take long to burn a spot out, because, you know, you catch one decent fish, a lot of commotion from that fish splashing around, it's going to spook pretty much everything else. So don't spend too much time on these really small creeks like this. Just, you know, hop from spot to spot to spot and relieve that place of as much pressure as you can, which sometimes in this particular creek here can mean walking, you know, a few feet to half a mile in spots. But anyway, let's get back to fishing. Gotcha. What do we have? Well, he popped off, but we got him. Another little Reginald. Got it. Another one. Dude, this is probably the biggest fish of the day. Dude, look at this rock bass. This tiny little urban creek, that's probably an 8 or 9 inch rock bass. I mean, this creek probably ain't 30 feet wide and maybe 2 feet deep at the most. And look at that eye. Let's get you back. So far, after retying with the fluorocarbon leader, we've been picking up a couple more fish, but just using a little red and black trout magnet. I think it's the bulldog color or something like that. 1/64 ounce head. And little tiny creeks like this, you don't need anything bigger than that. 180s, 164s, you know, that's plenty. Another one. Did you get that one down too far to get out? It's another little rock bass. He almost got it down too far, but we can manage it. Well, got it out and then re-hooked him. Pretty fish. I'll just screenshot one of my other ones. I'm just waiting for the people who complain about tossing them back like that. Well, I think we've caught all the little rock bass out of that little pocket over there by that rock. So I'm going to show you how I shoot these little spots like this when you don't have a ton of room to cast. What I'd like to do is get my lure well above my reel, like 15, 16, 18 inches, something like that. That way I got a good amount of tension that I can put on that rod tip, because you're working with that rod tip. But what I want to do is put my line in the direction that I want to cast and just let go. But you definitely don't want to you don't want to grab it or grab the head of your jig with the hook facing your fingers like that. I like doing it with, well, pretty much sticking straight up like that. That way when it goes flying, the hook is going away from my fingers. You know, one of these days I need to just sit down and categorize all of my videos and just put them on a playlist, which I do have playlists on the channel, so if you want to go to a specific type of content, you can go there. But the last time I added anything to a playlist was a very long time ago, so there's a lot that needs to be relisted. I don't know how well y'all can see them, but there's like 6 or 7 little bluegill and stuff right there in that gap of the rocks. Got it. Just pitched that one in there for a gill that's barely hooked. I'll just screenshot one of my other ones. Maybe we can nab one right here. But can we do it with 4% left on my battery? We certainly can, and it feels pretty good. Dude. That's just another trog of a rock bass. That thing is a stud. You never know what is hiding in these little urban creeks. Let's get you back. And my battery is about shot, so let's swap her out and catch some more fish. What do we catch? Will it stay on? Because if it falls down in all that mess, I'm not bothering with it. Beast of a gill, and you got some funk going on with your butthole back there. So, we'll get you back. I'll screenshot one of my other ones. Another one. What are you? This one just don't want to come unhooked. Very pretty bluegill. Tell you what, these fish ain't real big, but we're catching numbers of fish, and that is all that matters. Now once, like I said, once you catch a couple of fish out of a small spot like this right here, like where I can control, which what I mean by that is where I can cast to, that is all I'm worried about. I'm not worried about over here. I'm not worried about up there. Once you catch a couple of fish in that tiny little spot, move on, because you're putting a ton of pressure on that little bitty spot. Tell you what, this one trout magnet has taken a beating. Unfortunately, these hooks, or these jig heads I'm using, don't have collars on them, so it won't tear the bait apart nearly as bad. Oh, really? That was kind of expected. Got it. And of course I'm tangled up on everything in front of me though. You're not the one I was actually looking for, but we'll take you. Okay. Well, that's mildly disappointing. I figured this would have been considerably deeper, but it's not. Gotcha. Rubbing on the rocks. Big time. What do we got? Got us another little Reginald. Yeah, I can get you out. I can get it out. All the while getting tangled in everything above me with my line. Itty bitty little Reginald. Whoops, that was not nearly as deep as I thought it was. Oh well, he's not floating, so. What are you? You are another piece of bass. Man, these are some of the meanest little bass around here. And I'm already tangled up, you know, trees above me. But these things right here, you don't find them everywhere. Like there are some species of bass that are real similar to them, like the shoal bass and all that. But the Coosa bass can only really be found in southeast Tennessee North Georgia, northeast Alabama, and extreme western North Carolina. Their range is not real big. Alright, what's this one? Little Red. Man, this thing ain't real big, but it sure is pretty. It's got a lot of color. Tell you what, we're just going to give it a couple more minutes and then work our way back, because it's been a successful enough trip already. But this is the little spot that I've caught the biggest bass I've ever caught out of this creek, which is actually on this side here, because this is several feet deep on the back side of this. But I was throwing just a little topwater frog, like a little bitty micro one. It went off as expected. Gotcha. This one's a little bit nicer, was a little bit nicer for this pocket. That was a good rock bass too. That was a good rock bass. You're tiny, but we'll take you. And I think I know what you are. Yep, sure enough are. And I gotta watch where I step, because I ain't got much room up here. Monster, El Monstro, El Gigante, Coosa bass. Alright, I'm gonna get you back, get untangled, and I think right there we're gonna call her quits. And I just now realized something. Of all these years of fishing this greenway, there's a trail right there straight across from me. I'll have to look and see what business that's behind. That way I'll know whether or not I can actually park there and walk down. But yeah, there's a trail right there. But yeah, usually this right here is a lot deeper and got a lot more flow in it. But it's not, of course. It hasn't rained a lot in the last week or two. So anyway, we'll see y'all here in just a second. Well, y'all, that's the end of it. That was a really good, just shy of 2-hour little fishing trip up and down the creek here. I think we only covered about a mile of the roughly 12 to 14 miles this creek covers. And there's a ton of other places that some really good fish hide in this creek. But like I've said in previous videos, if you want to find places like this to fish, look at Google Maps, Apple Maps, Google Earth, especially Onyx if you want to look at property lines and stuff like that, see what state property, public property, private, and all that. And if you find some private property you want to fish and don't know who to look for, Onyx will show you who is the landowner of that property. So anyway, get out there, look at your maps, find you some places to fish, and catch the snot out of some creek fish. Hope you liked the video. See you next time.